Will warriors collide? Die Hard MMA podcast, we won't hide. Clint's gonna defeat, analyze each brawl from the underdogs to the champions standing tall. The fury, let your instincts rise. Feel the adrenaline rush, it's time to defy. Die Hard MMA, we're in it for the thrill. Get ready for the madness. Let's make that bankroll spill.
What's going on, diehards? Welcome back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. It is the undefeated post-weigh-in show, late night edition, baby. What's going on? How's everybody doing? It's Friday night. We're still here. The hat's too low. There we go. Now you can see my beautiful eyes. I just got done watching my daughter cheerlead for the first time ever. Oh, it was awesome. I'm kind of geeking out as a dad, but that's why the show is late. Thank you all so much for being patient for me. Late weigh-ins led to me being off and distracted with family stuff, but I wasn't about to leave you hanging. We weren't going to leave the 10 foil caps at home for UFC 306. It's Noche. We got to be here. We got to do the damn thing. So I came back around, and here we freaking go. What's up, everybody in the chat? We got Neil Ginny, we got Stu, we got Salty24, Iceland, Fardzane, Taylor, PL, lots of first timers, and I think that's probably because it's a first time slot here. What's up, Josh? Thank you for being here on the show. Thank you guys for being here to support me doing what I do. All right, guys, if it's your first time listening to this podcast, first off, I don't know where you've been, but if it is your first time stumbling across me and the home of fight, what we do on this show is we take everything we've learned throughout the week, we package it into a nice little box and make sure you have all the information you need to make positive bets on Saturday. Tomorrow, I watch the weigh-ins, I watch the face-offs, and I bring all that information to you. We try to digest it, package it, talk about it a little bit, and see if anybody won or lost the face-offs, let you know if people look terrible on the scales, etc. Today, first off, I think it's the quality of the fighters on the card. These Mexican fighters that really want to get in there and do the damn thing. They're professionals. And also because the big stage, I'll bet you Dana had a couple of extra things to say about people missing weight on this fight card. Nobody was missing weight. We have a record for how quickly these people got it done. They all got in there. They all got on weight. We don't have any misses today. I'll bet you Dana probably tipped the scale guy an extra $50K and was just like, you know what? Just scooch it a pound over. I don't care. Nobody is missing weight for UFC Noche. And we've had like replacement fights and fights that fall apart the day of weigh-ins for the last couple of weeks. And it ain't happening on this card, you guys. Not this one. So let's get into it. All right. First fight of the night. Aoriqileng takes on Raul Rosas Jr. 136 on the dot for both fighters. Both of them looked really good on the scales today. You've got Raul Rosas Jr., who really looks like he's filling out. He's still just 19 years old. So we're going to see him pack some muscle on that frame. We're going to see him grow up into his man body. Aoriqileng, not really an overly muscular guy, kind of a tall, lanky guy for the weight class. So he doesn't change too much physically fight to fight, I wouldn't say. Aoriqileng does have a slight height advantage in this spot. That's something that you would expect. Raul Rosas Jr., he's got a good frame, but he's not the tallest guy in the weight class, and he's the biggest favorite on the card. Kid is thick. We've got a 10-1 favorite, Raul Rosas Jr., and it is what it is. I mean, I was looking at this one, had it circled months in advance, and guys, I was going to anchor it. I was going to do the anchor parlay strategy that has been winning us so much money so far this year. Really, the only thing I've done this year that has won us any kind of money whatsoever. And I can't do it with a 10-1 favorite. You know why? Because it just doesn't do jack shit to the price of anything. If you're parlaying Raul Rosas Jr. with Josh Van, it brings it down like 40 cents. Like, you're still laying a chalked up price tag. The 10-1 just does not help. So unfortunately, that's not my game. The bookies are taking my opportunity to make money on this fight away from me. I do think this is a spot. First fight of the night. Biggest, youngest star they've got. The UFC wants this kid to make a splash. I expect him to go out there and get a finish. They've given him an opponent who is very finishable. Now, Aoriqileng has not had a ton of finish losses in his UFC run, but he is getting older. He is taking a decent amount of damage. He did get knocked out very recently. And first and foremost, he does give up his back in scrambles. And it screams submission. The bookies have submission at -185 for Raul Rosas Jr. And then I was thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? The one angle I think I might be able to take on this fight, and even then the price is wrong, it's Raul Rosas Jr. inside the distance. He's -360, guys. And I thought about, you know what? I wasn't going to anchor the money line because it's 10-1. I'll just, for the first time ever, I'll use a prop to anchor for my plays. -360 for an inside the distance is gross. I mean, I fully expect this kid to win within the first 2 rounds. I really do. But God, could you just imagine having your entire net worth on the line for a fight card going into round 3, first fight of the night, and it's the 3rd round, and the guy that's supposed to have died early hasn't gone away yet and is in like full defensive shell mode, 2 hands on one, hanging on to the arm so he can't get the neck, and I can absolutely see that playing out. So while I might end up parlaying Raul Rosas Jr. inside the distance, I am not going to anchor it. That price is wrong, and it's too wrong for me to justify doing it. So that's the pick. I'm expecting Raul Rosas Jr. by submission, probably in round 2, something along those lines. But we're gonna go on it with some bankroll management instead of swinging for the fences, guys. I've told you before, I'm having an awful year. Okay, my betting has not been good this year, so I'm trying to find ways to make money, and I feel like I keep on missing the low-hanging fruit opportunities, and this feels like a low-hanging fruit opportunity. So I wanted to just hammer it and be like, you know what, give me a good 8 units of profit here. Let me use that to springboard myself. And then I kind of sat down and was like, God, there's a lot of ways that goes really, really wrong. So let's take some smaller stabs at it, right? There's a couple things we might be able to parlay that with, but let's not go crazy. Next fight of the evening, we've got Edgar Chairez, and he's taking on Joshua Van. And this is a very similar story, guys. So Edgar Chairez, Josh Van, 125.5 a piece. Both of them looked fine on the scales. We have talked about this one all week, and it's given me fits because Edgar Chairez is a big guy for this weight class. He's big. He's physical. He hits really hard. If you go back to the fight where he fought Tatsuro Taira, before Taira got the grappling going, this guy floored him with a shot. This guy hurt Tatsuro Taira. And then even when they got into the grappling, Tatsuro Taira decisioned this man. He didn't submit him. So Edgar Chairez is a very good grappler. His defensive wrestling isn't what you would want it to be, but his jiu-jitsu and his submission defense, those are just fine. And if Tatsuro Taira, especially with the kind of tear that kid's been on, wasn't able to finish you, I know it was a while ago, but that speaks to his defensive capabilities. Since then, he's rattled off a couple of wins. I know the no contest with Daniel Lacerda, but let's be honest, he was going to win that one, right? So we don't really know where Edgar Chairez is, but we know he's tough. We know he hits decently hard. We know he's got good enough submission offense and good enough submission defense. He's going to have a height and reach advantage here, and he's taking on Josh Van, a kid who's just 22 years old, and he got knocked out in his last fight. And that kind of got me wondering, guys, like I've been super high on Josh Van. I've been so high on Josh Van, and I thought just immediately, parlay him, right? Like, why wouldn't we parlay Josh Van minus 250? Well, frankly, guys, because he has to win rounds 2 and 3, and that's how he gets the fights done. They always play out closer than you would like them to. Yes, he ended up getting the TKO finish, not his last fight, but the one before that. But he went to decision with Kevin Boras, which was competitive and close, 2-1, and he went to a split decision with Zumagulov in his UFC debut, which is a fighter who's been cut from the organization. So he fought extremely closely with two guys that are decent but not great. And then he knocked out a guy with gas tank problems. When he got that step up in competition, he went blow for blow with Charles Johnson and he lost that battle. Now he's a young kid. He's got a very high ceiling. I am not poo-pooing Josh Van, but again, just turning right around and laying minus 250 with a kid who got cracked and KO'd just a couple of months ago, it doesn't seem like the smartest idea to me. So I picked Josh Van on Monday. I fully intended on parlaying Josh Van with somebody in this spot, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, damn, dude, it's Mexico. Why wouldn't we be wanting to look for Edgar Chairez? Chairez is low volume. Josh Van is going to have a speed advantage, it seems. But I've talked about how the guys that have that speed and volume advantage, they leave themselves open for counter. So it's like big shots, big moments versus volume and speed, and who's going to get the edge there. Damn, dude, I'm so nervous about this fight. I can't get the bad taste of betting against Charles Johnson at chalk out of my mouth. Now, Edgar Chairez, I don't think is anywhere near Charles Johnson. Let's just go ahead and get that right out of the way, right? Like, I think very highly of Charles Johnson and his overall skill set. I don't think Edgar Chairez is capable of the same kind of performances. But if Josh Van is walking into punches and he's not fully healed after his last fight, that could present an opportunity for Edgar Chairez. So if I'm going to do anything, a parlay with Josh Van, like if we're doing what we talked about, Raul Rosas Jr. tied to Josh Van, it's minus 128. That's not a bad price tag. Close to even money. You basically pretend like Raul Rosas Jr. inside the distance doesn't exist, right? So like we want Josh Van at close to even money. I don't hate that. 2-leg parlay, get the night started, close to even money, but just don't go crazy. Don't go nutso on it. And because that's kind of my thing, is that I'm like, I was intending to go extremely hard on this. And I've talked myself off the ledge because I do think Josh Van kind of has his classic win 2 out of 3 rounds in this spot, but I can absolutely see him getting sparked as well. Let's get caught up here with some of these people. Salty saying that Van's off that brutal KO. We've got Green King looking for Chairez inside the distance at plus 550. That's a shot right there. Good luck if you take that stab there. Iceland Farts saying Van via decision. I kind of agree with that. SC Music Ranch, Van Rodriguez, Zellhuber, Jauregui, parlay. I do think they win, so don't mind it so much. Black Floyd, what's going on, my guy? How you doing tonight? And we've got Alfred catching a live show. What's up, my man? Thank you for being here with us this evening. All right, guys. Next fight on the docket, Yasmin Jauregui and Ketlen Souza. We've got another big favorite in Yasmin Jauregui, minus 550. And it's funny because these first 3 fights, like, it's obvious what the UFC is trying to do here, but there's questions, right? Like, Yasmin Jauregui, we just saw her get popped very, very recently. And then after she got knocked out, she came back against my girl, Sam Hughes, fought a very technical fight, but a very muted offense, right? She did not want to get touched again. She did not want to get tagged again. She made sure that Sam Hughes was nowhere near her in that fight. And that where, if you're fighting a Brazilian beast like Ketlen Souza, that's going to be tough to do. I mean, she's 29 years old. She's not the best prospect we've ever seen, obviously, or she wouldn't be in this position. She lost via submission to Irene Silva, which a lot of people are going to lose by submission to Irene Silva. She did beat up Marnik Man, but that doesn't tell us a whole lot. So it's real tough to understand exactly where Ketlen Souza is. She's mid to low tier at best, but minus 550 on Jauregui, man, that's a tough sell. Ketlen Souza is mean. She does have some pop in her hands. She has 8 wins by knockout. She is dropping a weight class for this one. And it's interesting because even dropping a weight class, she still does not have a size advantage. She's just a smaller framed human being. And I think that's going to be the biggest issue. Both women made 115 pounds on the scales today. They both looked fine. Again, especially notable for Ketlen Souza, who's dropping back down to this weight class after fighting at 125 in her last one. Yasmin does have a height advantage here. She's got a height advantage, a reach advantage, and I think that's going to make it real tough for Ketlen to get to her. Guys, I think Yasmin Jauregui is going to win this fight running away. I kind of expect her to maybe even get a late finish. You've got Souza, who's been knocked out twice. She's been submitted twice. She is not. I'm not sure that she's all the way UFC level. I mean, like, I love Ariane Carnelosi, guys. She's somebody who I'm in kind of a closet fan of for a long time, but she hasn't done great in the UFC, and she was able to KO this girl in the third round. If Yasmin Jauregui wants it, she can go get it. So I'm kind of thinking a round 2, round 3 TKO for Yasmin Jauregui, especially if you've seen how she looks recently, guys. Search her Instagram. Dear God, she is on all the right stuff. She's got some serious muscleage going on here. So I expect Yasmin Jauregui probably goes ahead and gets a finish in this fight. But the UFC and the books, they're on it. Yasmin Jauregui by decision is minus 175. It's chalk to all hell. So if she takes that same stick, move, jab type of game plan, they're not giving you a nice price on it. They're making you lay it minus 550, the favorite, minus 175 by decision. They are not goofing around on this one. The plus 275 by knockout has my attention just because that's kind of the only way you can get any kind of value on this spot. Jauregui by KO, TKO in round 2, plus 850. KO, TKO round 3, 14-1. I kind of like that. Because she doesn't do the submission thing. Yasmin Jauregui's never submitted anybody before. So even though she, technically speaking, probably could, she likes to work with her hands. And if this thing gets to round 3, I'm not expecting a sub. I'm expecting a KO. It's happened to Ketlen Souza twice already. That's the way I would try to take an angle on it. You know, if you want to parlay her up at minus 550 or something like that, which is dangerous enough in women's MMA, and then sprinkle that KO round 3 at 14-1, give yourself a little push there. I don't hate it. That's kind of the way to go on it. But again, it's just like Raul Rosas Jr. This price is blown out. I've been taking stabs at dogs all year this year, guys, and just losing my ass. Like, underdogs are not barking right now. I'm not sure what's going on. The books have adjusted and they've made chalk prices big, and somehow the dogs just cannot break through, even when these prices get overinflated like this and you expect someone to bust through and upset the apple cart at a big number. They just don't. So I'm not expecting Yasmin Jauregui to be the parlay buster on Saturday, but minus 550 does seem a touch expensive. Yeah, Green King likes that KO prop as well. Let's see here. So's on DraftKings. Is she cheap? Asks Zane. I mean, she's the underdog, so yeah, she's very cheap. She's very affordable. All right, everybody. The next fight up is Rolando Rodriguez taking on Ode Osbourne. This seems to have sparked a little bit of triggering in the community. It's very interesting to me here. We have got, oh, you know what? That's out of order. Why am I going out of order? Sorry about that, guys. I'm going off Tapology, and I'm skipping stuff. Manuel Torres takes on Ignacio Bahamondes up in the next fight here. Sorry about that. 155 pounds. We got 156 on the dot for both guys. See what I'm saying? Dana just handed this guy money. Like, everyone, not only are they weighing in, but they're all weighing in at the exact same weight. The scale didn't budge. Like, there's nothing to talk about with people on the scale today because absolutely all of them just got a free pass. You know, go on. Thank you. Thanks for playing. And what's the gif of the guy that's like searching people when they're coming into like the stadium and he just doesn't even like touch them and does this and lets them walk on in? That's what's going on here. Ignacio Bahamondes, you know, Manuel Torres, he wore the mask. He wore the face mask. It looks like a badass up there. Pretty awesome. Ignacio Bahamondes, just the biggest guy in this weight class. Both these guys are huge. Manuel Torres is not a small man, and Ignacio Bahamondes towers over him. Like, I cannot believe how large this human being is and how he can cut to this weight class. Frankly, it is insane. This has been a pick'em-ish tug of war, back and forth type of line, you guys. And I've really been struggling because first glance, I went Ignacio Bahamondes, and then I kind of dug in, and then I thought Manuel Torres because I don't like the defensive striking of Ignacio. Ignacio gets hit, and you don't want to get hit when you're fighting Torres. So I'm like, I think Torres is probably going to catch him and crack him. And then like I look into it more, and I'm like, holy shit! Like, Bahamondes is working really closely with my boy Bilal, and it's like if he knows anything about anything, it's grappling. If he comes out here and he wrestles, this Torres guy has never been out of first round. You can make an argument for either one of these guys. And these coin flip fights really are tough for me. I don't think there's much of an edge in this spot. Now, I did talk to my guy Andrew at Superbook Sports. If you guys haven't, please go check out the Sharp Action Report. It's right here on the Home of Fight as well. Lots of really great information in there. But what he told me, they opened Ignacio Bahamondes up the favorite, and money immediately poured in on Manuel Torres. Torres is older. Ignacio Bahamondes is younger, with the better trading situation, with the height and reach advantage, and somehow he's flipped over to being the dog. And he was very clear with me that they need Ignacio Bahamondes in this spot. So you guys know I always hate to swim with the fishes. I hate swimming the same direction everybody is. And it seems like I have somehow lined up with the entire rest of the planet, thinking that in this coin flip fight, Torres is the side, right? And it's just never that easy. When everybody and their mother is on one side of what is a even money pick'em type of fight, we're missing something. And that always makes me wonder, right? Because it's a close fight, but we all seem to be convinced one side is winning. That's what this feels like to me. So I'm going to go ahead and probably stay with Ignacio in this spot. I'm going to pick Ignacio Bahamondes. The hot take that I've got for this one, guys, which I might actually find my way to some kind of a bet, is the submission. Ignacio Bahamondes, he's not a huge KO threat. And I know that sounds insane because of his highlight reel KOs. One of them is on my podcast intro. It's crazy spinning shit, right? Like, it's wild. We're tired. We're greasy. We're exhausted. It's round 2. It's round 3. His opponent's tired out and he catches him with something nuts. So that's how this guy knocks people out. It's not like the clean 1-2 down the middle. Like, he's not just that vicious, brutal power puncher like Torres is that catches people early coming in. And so the power advantage obviously goes to Manuel Torres. I do think if Ignacio Bahamondes wins this fight, it's probably based off Torres getting tired deeper in the fight. And I think it's off Ignacio Bahamondes using the grappling aspect of his game, something that he might have to use when he's taking on a more dangerous striker for the first time in his UFC career. So I kind of think Bahamondes by sub at 8-1 is super live here because Torres will get tired the deeper this fight goes. And the more it goes deep, the more I think it favors Ignacio Bahamondes. You can get 22-1 round 2 by sub and 35-1 round 3 by sub for Ignacio Bahamondes. And I think those are worth a sprinkle. I don't know that you have to go crazy. You don't have to get like big time invested, but Ignacio Bahamondes does have several submissions on his record. He's 27 years old, so he is younger, and he's working with a grappling heavy specialist, and he's working on his grappling. So I'm just saying, like, it's there, right? Like, he subbed out Rongju in their fight deep into round 3. So it's a path to victory. It's possible. It's where the numbers are juicy. And you guys know me. That's where I feel a little bit more comfortable. I'm going to pick Ignacio Bahamondes. I don't know if I'm going to get there with a bet, just because one of the things I've tried to do less is the flip-flopping. You know what I mean? Like, if I shift and I'm not quite sure, why am I putting my money on it? Like, besides just the thrill of wanting to bet on something, why am I putting my hard-earned money on a spot that I can't decide myself who I like, right? I'm trying to do that less. Being a degenerate is fun, you guys, but I got to get some wins in before the end of the year. So maybe be a little bit less of a degenerate, find a little bit of stronger spots. This one, I think, is a fun fight, not quite a strong spot. Maybe a good live betting spot, though, especially if Torres does look like he got out to an early lead and maybe is starting to fade a little bit. That's when you can jump in live on Ignacio Bahamondes. But I'm not giving... I'm not making, I don't know. Who knows? I might do something with that. I'm tired. Next up, Irene Aldana takes on Norma Dumont. 136 apiece for each of these ladies. Very intense face-off. Every time they've done the face-off, it has been intense between these two women. Happy Norma Dumont weigh-in day for those of you who recognize and celebrate Miss Dump Truck herself. It is all lower body muscle here for Norma Dumont. You've got a height and reach advantage for Irene Aldana. And it was super interesting because I feel like Norma Dumont's just feeling herself, guys. I mean, there is something about her. She's almost a little overconfident, cocky in some of these face-offs. I mean, the way she's like getting into Aldana's face and like smirking at her, I feel like it's almost making Aldana uncomfortable. Like, I want to say that Aldana's the one that looks like she's pumped up, but it's like Dumont's got a secret that nobody knows about. And that's what scares me, that it's like she is like uber confident in herself right now. And when a fighter has that kind of next level confidence, it's hard to touch them. Like, you've got to break them of that confidence before you can actually break them in the fight. And that's tough to do, especially if they're able to get their game off. This is another one exactly like the last fight, guys. I've been flip-flopping back and forth all week. I'm a Norma Dumont hater. I have been for a long time. I haven't trusted her. I don't like her fight IQ. She makes bad decisions. And I've said this for years. And she gets away with it. And we've seen it time and time again. And she took money from me. And so I always want to try to get my cash back from Norma Dumont. Unfortunately, that ass ain't writing checks. She just keeps winning. So I can't get my money back from Norma Dumont. And I went, you know what? Maybe I just bet on Norma Dumont. Crazy idea, right? But guys, every time I flip like that, every time I'm like, I see the angle to the fade and I want to fade and I do fade and I lose my money. And then I flip because I'm like, okay, I was wrong. Now I will bet on you. That's the moment they lose. Happened with Cody Durden. Happened with my guy CJ, Charles Johnson. I mean, like, every time without fail, as soon as I jump off the boat, that is when everything I've been seeing all along finally comes to bear. So I can't bet Norma Dumont in this spot, because if I do, she's going to get knocked out in the first round. I think this is a classic striker versus grappler, guys. Irene Aldana on the feet, much tighter, cleaner boxing. She's got dangerous, easy, good, solid submission ability, big time upside where she could finish the fight if she really wanted to. But the wrestling and the grappling goes to Norma Dumont. The question is she going to use it? I don't know if she's going to use it, and that's really the problem for me. If she doesn't go to the grappling early and often, I think she's going to get wrecked on the feet, man. Irene Aldana is just, she's built for war the way she strikes, and she is fast. She counters hard. She is aggressive. She'll come forward. Like, we've seen that in all of her fights. Norma Dumont can be a little low volume. Sometimes she'll bite down on the mouthpiece and she'll swing that one big heavy power shot, and she's got heat in her hands when she does that. She just doesn't do it very often. So if these guys are standing, or these ladies are standing for an extended period of time, I expect it to be one-way traffic for Irene Aldana. Norma Dumont's got to grapple. But if she refuses to grapple, this fight suddenly gets a little lopsided here to me. So I'm looking at final decision. Irene Aldana. Final decision. See, this is how, like, unsure I am in this fight. It's a pick 'em for a reason. I should probably just, like, fade myself in this fight and bet Norma Dumont because I'm picking Irene Aldana at the end, but I'm not in the business of trying to make money off fading myself. Then you lose yourself in your own counter analysis. It's really weird. So I'm going to pick Irene Aldana. I am not betting this fight, you guys. I can't bring myself to bet it. I could see Irene Aldana landing a knockout blow, though. I'll be honest with you. We have seen Norma Dumont get hurt before on the feet, and the plus 650 KO prop for Irene Aldana, it's kind of calling my name just a little bit. It's interesting to me, but this fight is probably your classic women's MMA fight, and it goes a little bit long. Both women can finish, though. That's what's crazy to me. It's a tough fight, guys. It's a really tough fight. These last couple fights, they're really fun for watching. They're going to be really tough for betting. So just be careful on these middle of the road, coin flippy, pick 'em type of fights. Usually it's fun to bet because you can pick out an edge and then push that edge for a win. And these ones, everybody thinks they've got an edge, and the truth is none of them do. So be careful. Next up, you got Osbourne and Rolando Rodriguez. Both men come in at 125 pounds. These guys stole the show at the ceremonials and at the pre-fight conference and all that stuff. Rodriguez is going hard in the paint. I thought it was freaking hilarious how these guys kept on getting after it with each other. They are not even speaking the same language. Like, maybe Ode just absolutely aced Spanish in high school and he understood everything Rodriguez was saying to him, but for some reason I doubt that. And they just kept yelling at each other. Like, neither of them can understand a damn thing the other one is saying, and they just kept yelling at each other. It was hysterical to me. I like this fight. I like fading Ode Osbourne. You guys know this. It is Mexican Celebration Day at the Sphere tomorrow, so I'm fully expecting Rodriguez to be put in an advantageous position here. I see a lot of people who I respect, who I trust, who I know are sharp, who are betting on Ode Osbourne. But at the end of the day, you guys, Ode Osbourne should be on a 4-fight losing skid. His best skill set, the best thing that I can say about Ode Osbourne is that he's big for this weight class. He's got big time power in his hands. He throws heat-seeking missiles. He finishes fights early because he's a size bully. He's not that much bigger than Rolando Rodriguez. That's the thing. Most of the guys that he's bullying around the cage, when he does get those big finishes, they're a lot shorter. They're like way little guys in this weight class. They're like the little muscle monster types. This guy's going to be a lot closer to his size. When they face off, you can see that. Like, the size discrepancy between Ode and Rodriguez isn't what it is against most of the people that Ode steamrolls. Now, he does have an 8-inch reach advantage, and that's nothing to joke about. But I've talked before about when you've got these people with exceptionally long reaches, if you can get inside on them, then you can take advantage of that reach in a positive for yourself as opposed to being a negative. And I love the body work from Rolando Rodriguez. He's got a chin on him. This is a guy that will take what you throw and then come back and fire twice as hard, and he wins those battles. I think that's the worst case scenario for Ode Osbourne. Somebody who refuses to go away, somebody with a good gas tank, somebody who can take your best shot. Ode loses confidence in himself, and he has a very poor gas tank. He's also a very bad grappler. I really think when the fight gets going, Rodriguez is going to keep coming forward and keep punching, and Ode Osbourne is eventually going to fade. Now, Rodriguez may walk face first into one of those punches and just go down. It's entirely possible, you guys. I got a minus 135 on Rolando Rodriguez. That's the first bet I made on this card. He's sitting up in the ballpark of minus 160, minus 170 at this point. That's maybe getting a little out of control, but I do think that this may be our last opportunity to fade Ode Osbourne. As nice of a guy as he is, as much as I like him, big of a fan, I don't think he's cutting it in this day and age. And I think the UFC is trying to use him to springboard somebody else. And this is the type of fighter who he struggles with and is kind of a bad matchup for him. So Ode Osbourne, I think, is very front loaded to round one. I do think the longer this fight goes, the more it favors Rodriguez. And I kind of like the submission sprinkles. You can get round 2 sub, round 3 sub for Rodriguez. The numbers aren't great anymore. People have pounded those. 10-1 round 2, 12-1 round 3, if you wanted to take a look at that. But even if you look at just like the normal prop lines, it's plus 350 for KO, plus 300 for subs. So like they know this kid's got a good backpack. He's got a good rear naked choke. And we all know that Ode Osbourne is simply straight up a bad grappler defensively these days. So that's kind of how I see the fight going, is they'll eventually find their way to the ground, and eventually Rodriguez will find his way on top of Ode Osbourne. He's just going to want it more in round 2. He's just going to want it more in round 3. So I got the kid. All right, guys. Esteban Ribovics, Daniel Zellhuber, 155 a piece. Both of them look fantastic again on the scales. This is two very professional fighters that look really good. Daniel Zellhuber, I said on Twitter, you guys, he would make a fantastic Zorro. When he does the full black with the big sombrero, somebody in Hollywood listening to this podcast, talk to your uncle or whoever makes movies, bring back the Mask of Zorro, call Daniel Zellhuber, because he is perfect for the role. The ladies will love him, and he will just absolutely nail the look. Please. This was a very respectful face-off. These guys seem to like each other and respect each other. Zellhuber does have a height advantage in this spot. Esteban Ribovics, we've talked about this. He's got a Volkanovski head. This guy's got the massive, like, he's shorter, he's smaller, but he's got twice the size head as Daniel Zellhuber, and I find it hilarious. No wonder the guy is so durable. No wonder he's in round 3 beating the brakes off of people, because you can't hurt the guy. It's insane. I said this before. I'll say it again. Daniel Zellhuber is a guy who we've seen be on the wrong end of a brawl. We've seen him get chinned before. We've seen him get caught before. And since then, he's really buttoned it up. He's far more defensively solid. He likes to counter. He likes to move. He's got beautiful footwork. He uses his range very well. And in his last fight, I told everybody he's got to fight the perfect fight for this one. And he did. So now I'm looking at this one and I'm going, I really want to buy Esteban Ribovics. I really want to take a stab on this underdog. He's one of the biggest, livest dogs on the card. Like most of the dogs on this card that are live just aren't that big of price tags. He really is a live dog here. If you got plus 250 early on Esteban Ribovics, props to you. It's down to plus 180 now, so you got a great number. He's going to be very competitive in this fight. He's never going to stop coming forward. But I just can't get the fact that Daniel Zellhuber fought the perfect fight last time against a guy who is this man's countryman, who has a very similar skill set, and they're basically putting him in the same exact fight on a bigger stage. The danger factor is notched up just a little bit. Esteban Ribovics hits harder. Esteban Ribovics is a little bit more aggressive. He's a little taller. He's a little longer. It's the same fight. It's just a little harder for him. I think they like Daniel Zellhuber. I really think the UFC thinks they've got something in Daniel Zellhuber. And this is a spot where, once again, he's going to have to come out and he's going to have to show out if he wants to get this win. I think he does. Now, in saying that, Esteban Ribovics refuses to go away. So I do think it's going to be the chalk. I think it's going to be Zellhuber by decision. I don't think he's going to hurt Ribovics enough to get him out of there. I think he's going to intercept him. I think he's going to avoid him. And Zellhuber's going to do whatever it takes to go ahead and get the win. That's somebody who I like to put my money on personally, is someone who will do whatever it takes to get the win, even if it's a greasy, nasty, gross victory that nobody wants to watch, but you get your hand raised in the end. That's somebody worth betting on. You could absolutely make the argument the other way around, right? Esteban Ribovics is a dog who will fight for your money. He's somebody who will go out there, bite on the mouthpiece, and unless he's unconscious, he's going to keep coming forward and he's going to keep swinging. So I get wanting to bet on him. I had the same initial urge. I think I've flipped over to the Zellhuber side. I like the over. I like the decision. But hey, if we're talking parlays, if you want to do the Raul Rosas Jr. inside the distance with Zellhuber, you're ending up with about minus 115. That's more speaking my language. That's a parlay that might make my card. I kind of like Zellhuber in this spot. And as much as I'm a fan of Ribovics, I just think I need to go with the more technical, cleaner striker in this one. Again, I don't have a whole lot of bets on this one yet, guys. I have like a small handful, 2 or 3 bets. I've got a lot of ideas, and I'm trying not to do what I did last week, which is load up on a bunch of less than confident plays and lose a pile of money for no reason. I'm trying to make sure I actually really like these plays before I lock them in. So I will make my final selections and post out my card tonight on Twitter, on Instagram, of course, in the Discord over on Home of Fight, which, by the way, if you guys aren't in there, please come join us. It's a bunch of fight fans. I've got my own channel in there. So if you want to see me posting my plays, if you want to see what I'm on, whether you're tailing or fading, or just out of curiosity's sake, that's the easiest and quickest way to find it. Come hang out, come talk to us, join the Discord. One other thing I want to mention before we go on to these last couple of fights, you guys, we are running the gauntlet again for Bet Openly. Bet Openly is our sportsbook sponsor. They've been with us for a long time. We are giving away piles of money. This is the 4th time we've done this. It's a $600 prize pool. Yes, you heard that correctly. We are giving away $600 in prizes. We are doing a 10-week bankroll UFC challenge. 1 bet per UFC card, 10 events in a row. Top 3 finishers get the cash. That's how this works. So all it takes is a $50 bankroll on Bet Openly. Get signed up, put $50 on there, bet 1 fight per week, and I will post up everybody's records and keep track of it and all that stuff. It's got to be on Twitter. That's the easiest way for me to do it, but it's really, really fun, you guys, and it's a great way to get comfortable learning using Bet Openly as a platform. I promise you'll love it. Come check it out and come take a stab at winning some of this money. I got to give away some money. It might as well be to you guys. All right, let's get the rest of this going because I still haven't had dinner yet. Next up, you have got Brian T. City Ortega. He's taking on Diego Lopes. Oh, baby. Diego Lopes just looked like $1 million today. I know he's fought a lot lately. He's been very, very active. He's fought in a lot of wars and battles. He's turned around quick again, but he looks phenomenal. He's in such good shape, and the guy just does not seem to wear damage. Brian Ortega, he looked a little rough on the scales today, guys. I will tell you that. Now, there's been a lot of discussions about Brian Ortega. They want him, not they want him. He wants to go to 155. He's done with 145. He said the weight cut is tough for him. He doesn't want to do it anymore. He wants to get out of this weight class, and he looked tired today. He looked like his eyes were sunken into his head. It was not great with Brian T. City Ortega on the scales this morning. Now, when they did the ceremonials, he looked fine. His baby blue glorious eyes are shining brightly, and he looks perky and happy, and he's ready to go. And that's kind of the thing with Brian Ortega. He's almost like the Brazilian balloons, right? They suck themselves down. They look awful on the scales, and then they perform out of their minds on Saturdays. He's the same kind of guy. I've talked about how I feel like the chin is giving out on Brian Ortega. I feel like the durability is cracking on Brian Ortega. But until the floor falls out, you cannot count on this guy getting finished. He just wants it more than anybody else. He stays in there. He'll take the beating, and then he will give it back to you and do whatever it takes to finish that fight. He's a warrior. Like, this guy is all heart. Lopes has a size advantage. He's a bigger dude. Very good face-off. Very intense face-off. And I hate this number. We've got Diego Lopes minus 190, minus 200 in some places. Like, he opened up as a plus 105 dog, guys. The first time this fight was booked, he opened up as a plus 105 dog, and we have bet him all the way up to minus 200 in this spot. It's insanity to me. Now, this is where the anchor and the parlay system saves me a little bit in this kind of a spot if I want to play that guy, because if you were to parlay him up with someone like Raul Rosas Jr. inside the distance, it's minus 106. So then you're like, okay, great. That's what I'm talking about. I want pick'em on this guy, right? I think he wins. I have picked Diego Lopes in this spot. I think the UFC is pushing this kid. They're putting him on a stage to succeed. I picked him to win the last time. I think I had a bet on him somewhere in the ballpark of minus 130 last time, and I liked that. Don't get me wrong. I will take minus 130 on Diego Lopes, but my God, I don't want to be laying 2-1 on Diego Lopes. It's a bit of a tough ask. Brian Ortega is a guy that you simply do not disrespect, guys. That's something I want to make exceptionally clear. Brian Ortega has gone to hell and he's come back and he will rip your heart out on his way for funsies. That's the kind of guy we're dealing with here. Yes, he's taken a lot of damage. Yes, he's got a lot of wear and tear on the body and he wants to get out of this weight class, but this is a step down in competition from what he's been facing recently. And I don't mean that as far as like a skill set, but like you look at who he's been fighting. Volkanovski, Rodriguez, the number one contender, the interim champion. Like those are the guys who he's been fighting recently. So while Diego Lopes might be challenging for a title very soon, he is not the champion. He hasn't reached that pinnacle just yet. And Brian Ortega gave those guys hell. So I fully expect this to be a competitive fight. I went from kind of talking myself into Diego Lopes KO like everybody else, thinking Diego Lopes is just going to come out here and bop him and put him down right away, to like, you know what, though? Diego Lopes, is he a better striker than Yair? Yair couldn't get it done. Does he hit harder than Yair Rodriguez or Chan Sung Jung? Like, I don't know if he does, man. He's a professional grappler first and foremost. He's a submission guy. Well, I don't think you're submitting Brian Ortega either. So even though he's younger, even though he's got more upside at this point in his career, I think, I know he's a finisher. I know he's impressive, but we can poke some holes here. Sadiq Youssef, he's chinny. We know Sadiq Youssef is chinny. Pat Sabatini, that dude can't take a punch. He's a grappler only who cannot take a punch. Those are the two guys that he's knocked out that we're running this hype train on. So yeah, I like Diego Lopes, but I don't know if he's just going to one punch a guy like Brian Ortega in the first round. I'm kind of leaning more and more and more towards the over, because I do think we're going to end up in grappling transitions. These guys are both exceptionally good grapplers. I don't think anybody's going to end up tapping in this kind of a spot, though we have seen Brian Ortega's shoulder give out when Yair Rodriguez attacked that submission lock on him and his shoulder busted open, basically. That could happen again. We could be in a spot where in a transition, the younger, stronger guy just kind of breaks the older, more fragile man in some way, and he ends up with a TKO victory, even though it's not really a KO. That's kind of the way I see this fight maybe finishing. One thing I was looking at is, once again, let's go back to that rule, Raul Rosas Jr. inside the distance. If you want to parlay the alternate over 1.5, that comes out to minus 120. I might add that to my card, you guys. That doesn't sound bad at all. I am terrified of having an over, a butt clinchy, butthole puckery over in a fight like Brian T. City Ortega versus Diego Lopes. The way these guys throw heat, the submission upside for both these guys, I have a hard time putting my money voluntarily on a full-on over for that kind of a situation. 1.5, though, I feel a little more comfortable with 1.5. That don't sound too bad. You got a whole couple more rounds to go, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. So as long as Raul Rosas Jr. gets a finish, we can get up and over 1.5. I feel okay there at minus 120. That's probably a bet that will make my card. I don't mind that one bit. Now, if you want to just look at the props clean and straight up, they've got Diego Lopes by KO and Diego Lopes by decision set exactly the same. Exactly the same. With the over, you don't have to sweat a winner. If Brian Ortega does end up pulling off the upset, the way we saw Diego Lopes kind of get exposed a little bit in round 3 against Dan Ige in his last fight, that's absolutely something that is on the table here. Also, I do want to remind you guys, I know he's getting a lot of crap for that, and Ige like rolled off the couch and like damn near beat him. But you got to remember, Diego Lopes had like 4 opponent changes. Brian Ortega came in short notice. And then Brian Ortega pulled out at the 9th hour. And so then he got the Dan Ige fight, and then he cut all that weight, and then he had to like refill back up and then weigh in at a different weight class. And like, so all the things Dan Ige did that was insanely impressive, Diego Lopes had to go through all of that too on the other end of the bargain. So yes, Dan Ige came in off the couch, quote unquote, and you're like, oh, Lopes had the game plan, like he had the full camp, he should be better. He game planned for somebody else. Imagine going from thinking you're going to fight jiu-jitsu ace Brian Ortega to short bowling ball power puncher Dan Ige on the night of the fight. You're not ready for that. You're not ready for what this guy's going to come in and throw at you. That is not part of the game plan, right? So like, he had a whole lot going on in that spot himself. So I would say let's not read too far into that 3rd round for Diego Lopes. I do think Brian Ortega probably wins round 3 at a big clip. I do think Diego Lopes wins round 1 probably at a big clip. It's all going to come down to round 2. And if I take the over 1.5, I don't have to sweat that. So I think I like the over 1.5 a little bit more than anything, parlayed up with something else. Main event time, everybody. Alexa Grasso, Valentina Shevchenko, the rubber match, the trilogy for all the noodles. Man, I've already made myself clear here on this one. I'm on the Grasso side. I've been on the Grasso side. I'm not getting off the train. And why did I say that was the main event? This is the co-main event. I'm tired. So we've got Grasso coming in at 124. Valentina Shevchenko, 125. These two size up so well, guys. Like every time they've run this fight, it always just kind of like I admire the matchmaking because these two stand eye to eye, nose to nose, shoulder to shoulder. Like they are just built to fight each other, and I love it. I give the speed and the power to Grasso. I give the submission finishing upside. All the moments go to Grasso. I give Valentina Shevchenko the strength, the technique, the kickboxing, the wrestling. She has those. So again, it's very, very even. So it makes sense, I think, that we have a pick'em type of price tag on this fight. Now, I did go ahead and lay minus 135 with Alexa Grasso myself. I've said before, I think the longer this trilogy goes on, the worse it is for Shevchenko, the better it is for Grasso. We've proven that Grasso belongs in that cage with Valentina Shevchenko. The first time they fought, she found a window. She submitted her. She left that giant like arm imprint across her chin. That's how tight she was squeezing her face off to get that submission. Grasso can win this fight. And once you get that belt wrapped around your waist and you believe in yourself and you've learned that, you're good enough to hang with those people, you reach new heights. Now, in the second fight, it was exceptionally close. I talked about this fight with Narco today on Spaces, and Valentina, I felt like, won that fight. But there was one round in that fight that was extremely close, and you could have scored it for Alexa Grasso. It was competitive the whole way through. So even though, yes, I scored it for Valentina myself, it was still very close and very competitive. And again, those are championship caliber rounds that Alexa Grasso is going to learn from and grow from. And again, we kick it out yet another year. Valentina Shevchenko is going to be older. She's going to be slowing down, and her durability is starting to slip. I like Grasso yet again. I honestly feel like Valentina missed her opportunity. Like it's sad because if you look at it from Valentina's perspective, she's just never going to get that back, right? Like she won her belt back essentially from Grasso the last time they fought. And now that they have to rerun it again, like she maybe could have avoided this matchup and fought somebody else in this spot as champion instead of doing the rubber match potentially. But she has to go fight again, and she's on the challenger side instead of the champion side. She's got that doubt in her mind, like she's got that chip on her shoulder. I think she's going to be a lot more aggressive in this fight, guys. I think this one's going under. I actually think we're going to see a finish again in this fight. Everybody knows this is going to be like a back and forth, ticky-tacky. It was very technical last time, lots of wrestling. Valentina Shevchenko has been extremely adamant that she knows she can't win on the judges' scorecards. If it goes to a decision, she does not think that she can win. So she's going to come out aggressive. I really feel like she's going to come out and she's going to try to put a stamp on this fight. And because of that, that'll allow Grasso to get off on some of those big moments as well. And I think when they go blow for blow, Grasso is going to be the one that gets those bigger moments and finds a way to get it done. Now, I'm going to flip it on its head here. I like Grasso by KO, guys. It's 9-1. Alexa Grasso by knockout. The last time they fought, she rocked Valentina Shevchenko badly. Early in the fight, she rocked her pretty bad. Now, Grasso does have the submission upside. Obviously, the club and sub is there. She could grab the neck and do that kind of thing again. It could go 25 minutes again. We've seen it before. It could happen again. But I just think Shevchenko is really going to go for broke. And when she does, she's going to be on the receiving end of big power shots, faster hands, younger hands. And I don't know that Alexa Grasso is going to put herself in a bottom grappling situation this time. If she gets on top, I think she just pounds away. So even if it's a ground and pound TKO type of finish, I just think the TKO is the way to go as opposed to the submission. I like Grasso. I think it comes inside the distance. Let's go, baby. And still for that co-main event. Finally, guys, your main event here. We got Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili. 135 for Sean O'Malley, 134 for my guy Merab. Intensity from both guys here. I love this so much. But guys, so you guys know where I'm at, right? Link Memorial Dog of the Week. Merab, we're Team Merab. We've been Team Merab. I said Merab was going to dethrone O'Malley months ago. Like, this is a spot I've had circled. I've got a 5-unit max underdog bet on Merab going in here on Sunday. And if you guys didn't see, I put that up on Bet Openly. So you degenerates were the ones that took my action on this fight, and I love it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Whether I'm on the right side or not, it's always fun when my action is filled with the people that I love, and one of us is going to get our hand raised at the end of the thing here. I just don't think that Sean O'Malley has fought anything even close to Merab. And I do believe that Sean O'Malley's knockout power is something that's being a little bit overstated at this point. And I know you guys think I'm insane. You guys think I'm crazy. I'm a total fade right now, blah, blah, blah. We've heard it all. Sean O'Malley, the stoppage with Aljo was early. You guys can all agree with me on that. In fact, 90% of you guys bet on Aljo that night and were crying robbery when they stopped the fight super early. Think back to that. Remember that feeling that you had, because it was a bit of an early stoppage. He did land a perfect shot, but Aljamain Sterling wasn't unconscious out of that fight. And then you look at some of the other situations that he's got. He couldn't knock out Chris Moutinho. Thomas Almeida, pretty chinny at this point in his career. Eddie, chinny as fuck. And Rulian Paiva, he's essentially done, I think, in the UFC at this point, isn't he? Did he get cut? I got to go back and see, because I think he got dropped by the UFC. Where is he fighting now? Oh, no, they did bring him back. Okay, maybe they did bring him back. Never mind. But he's also got some chin issues. Everybody that Sean O'Malley has knocked out has got chin problems. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't have power, because obviously he does. And he's exceptionally fast, and he's very accurate, and I love his footwork. All of that is there. Don't get me wrong. But Merab's never been knocked out. You go to a guy who everyone is thinking can knock you out and dead you with one punch. He's really not the dead you with one punch kind of guy. He picks his spots. He finds his moments. He controls the range. And he's been fighting strikers his entire UFC run. Now, the one time he got a grappler in Aljo, I don't have to go back over all that again. You guys got it backwards. Aljo was not the worst case scenario fight for Sean O'Malley because of some of his deficiencies. He was actually the best case scenario for Sean O'Malley. O'Malley was always going to win that fight with Aljamain Sterling, because he was never going to catch him. Merab's a different story. Merab is never going to let this guy off the hook. He's never going to stop coming forward. His striking is good. His volume is high. He punches his way in. And even if he does get caught and clipped with something, he's just never gone down and stayed down. The only time he's ever been knocked out is when he knocked himself out. When, you know, that clip of him getting when they thought he was getting submitted and he's like kicking his legs to basically stay alive against Ricky Simone. That's the only time Merab's been knocked out in the UFC. And he did it to himself because he shot so hard for a takedown. He slammed his forehead into the cage floor. So I trust this guy not to get finished. I love Merab. He opened up as a big favorite in this spot. Bookies are just begging for you guys to come in and bet Sean O'Malley. They're giving you the best price possible on a guy that 99% of the planet is on, and it's just flooding in one-sided. I don't think that's by mistake. My guy Andrew said very clearly over at Superbook Sports that he set it up that way because he agrees with me. He thinks Merab should be the favorite. They're welcoming the Sugar Sean O'Malley money because they want to be on the Merab side in this spot. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who wins this fight because Umar is going to be the next champion of this weight class. But I do think that Merab takes the belt and new tomorrow on Saturday. I've got a 5-unit bet on him, plus 127 odds, I want to say, over on Bet Openly. He is down to plus 105 right now at most sports books. So there has been some buyback once he got up in that plus 120 range. The sharps did come in and take that, and it's keeping it in this minus 125, plus 110 type of ballpark on most of these books. And I do think it's going to be probably a decision. I think Merab probably just kind of works him and grinds on him and wins 3 or 4 of the 5 rounds, just kind of repeatedly putting Sean O'Malley up against the cage and dragging him back down to the floor. Round 1's going to be hairy, but once they get past round 1, I think it's just Merab season, one-way traffic all day. Whoever wins this fight is going to look like a minus 500 favorite in hindsight, right? Because if Sean O'Malley catches him, it's over, right? Like if he does have that one-punch KO type power that you guys are saying, it could be over in a hurry and he looks like easy money. But if he doesn't, then it's going to be a long night. And one other thing I do want to point out to you guys, I saw that DraftKings is doing like a promo for Sean O'Malley knockout. And not that this necessarily is anything for like big time technical analysis or anything like that, right? But the last time DraftKings did a promo like that, it was taking Israel Adesanya from being a minus 400 favorite to an even money bet for you against Sean Strickland. they let everybody, every single person on the books, throw $5 to $15 to $25 on that play and get the champ minus 400 down to a pick'em price tag, and they just scooped all of that. So don't trust the UFC promos coming out of DraftKings. Everybody's going to go in there and donate their $5 to $10 to see Sean O'Malley by KO, and I just don't think it's happening. So careful out there, everybody. That was the Undefeated post weigh-in show, you guys. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me tonight. Just a real quick recap for you in case you're interested. Merab, obviously, my big bet for the night, the one that I'm really kind of banking on here at this point. And the only other bet that I have is Alexa Grasso by KO, and Rolando Rodriguez at minus 135, which I beat the line on and I like very much. And I probably sprinkle round 2 and 3 in some way, shape, or form. I am going to find a way to parlay up Raul Rosas Jr., probably with the over 1.5 rounds in the Ortega and Lopes fight, maybe also with Jauregui, maybe also with Zellhuber. That's kind of where I'm looking at on this one. I think I might just be passing on the Josh Van fight. I might jump in that one live rather than having anything on it pre-flop, because I am just really nervous about where Josh Van is at, and I'm not the biggest Edgar Chairez guy. I just don't know enough about him. I don't feel comfortable laying big money one way or the other on him or against him. As always, you guys, proper bankroll management. Please protect yourselves. Have fun. That's what we're here doing this thing for. Don't bury yourselves, but let's have a good time. I hope you make piles. Let's cash some freaking tickets. I'm going to go get some freaking food, and I'll have my card for you guys first thing in the morning. Good luck on all of your degenerate action. Come join the gauntlet. Jump on Bet Openly. Come join the gauntlet. I'm trying to give away $600. Come get some of us. Love you guys. Let's roll.